Sir, please add Shikhar, sir.
हेलो।
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Whether it is audible?
Hello.
Sometimes it is lagging, sir, due to bad weather perhaps.
Hello.
No, sir, not audible.
Hello.
Totally not audible, sir.
Sir, perhaps due to bad weather, आज सुनाई नहीं दे रहा.
Hello.
Okay, now it is audible.
Hello.
क्या हो गया शिखर?
Hello.
आवाज ही आ रहा।
Hello. अरे whether it is audible?
Yes sir, it is
Hello.
audible.
Okay, let us start. Okay, so all of you switch off your mic. Okay, write down the in last class we have already discussed about your one example network, that is your ARPANET. Okay, so today we will discuss NSF NET. Okay, so write down this NSF net, that is NSF stands for your National Science Foundation. Okay, National Science Foundation Network. Okay, National Science Foundation Network. So in the uh, simply write down this NSF stands for National Science Foundation Network. National Science Foundation Network. So in the uh, late 1970, to facilitate the research on network issues. Okay, so we have already discussed in the last class what are the issues associated with your ARPANET. Okay, so NSF, the US National Science Foundation, has taken the response to design a successor to the ARPANET that would be open to all university research group. Okay, so no need to write, simply write down this NSF net stands for your National Science Foundation Network. Okay, so this is the successor to the ARPANET. Okay, and which uh, and this NSF proposed in 1970. Okay, 1970, and this NSF decided to build a backbone network to connect its 6 supercomputer center. Okay, so to connect its 6 supercomputer center, where each supercomputer was attached with a microcomputer called fuzzball. Okay, so the basic objective of National Science Foundation is to connect its 6 supercomputer center, and each supercomputer center, okay, are connected with your microcomputer, and this is a form a fuzzball. Okay, so the fuzzballs were connected with 56 kbps leased line and form the subnet. Okay, so the fuzzballs were connected with 56 kbps leased line and form the subnet. Okay, and the software. Okay, so the software technology were different. However, the fuzzball initially implement this TCP/IP protocols. Okay, this is basically refers this TCP/IP reference model. Okay, the TCP/IP reference model, and making it the first TCP/IP one. Okay, TCP/IP wide area network. Okay, so simply write down this fuzzball were connected where 56 kbps lease lines, okay, and form the subnets. Okay, and the fuzzball basically are the supercomputers. Okay, which in which the supercomputer center are connected. Okay, and it is connected through your 56 kbps lease line. Okay, and they follow this TCP/IP reference model, and this NSFNet is the first TCP/IP one. Okay, and NSFNet was the first TCP/IP one. But in case of your ARPANET, it doesn't follow any protocols. Okay, so there is a communication gap. Okay, so there is a, as you can say, in last list, okay, ARPANET protocol were not suitable for running over multiple networks. Okay, so because they are not following this TCP/IP uh, reference model. But later on, this ARPANET also follows this TCP/IP reference model. Okay, but the NSFNet was the first network who follows this TCP/IP reference model. Okay, and this NSF also funded some. After that, once it is connected with your 6 supercomputer centers, Okay, later on, it is also connected to some regional network also. Okay, so NSF also funded some regional network that connected to the backbone to allow user at thousands of universities, research labs, libraries, and museums to access any of the supercomputers and to communicate with one another. Okay, so initially the NSF net start with between your all the supercomputer center, but later on it is also connected with some regional network, okay, to access, okay, the different universities, research lab, libraries, and museum to access any of the supercomputers and communicate with one another. Okay, so this is the basic history behind your NSF net. Okay, so if you can say, NSF net stands for your National Science Foundation Network. Okay, and initially it was connected through its some microcomputers called Fuzzball, and these Fuzzballs were connected with 56 through 56 kbps lease lines, and this NSNS is the first network who follows this TCP/IP reference model. Okay, and later on it is connected with your regional networks to access different resources associated with your universities, research labs, okay, library and museums. Okay, and uh, the complete network, including the backbone. Backbone means that is your all the supercomputer centers. Okay, so including the backbone, that means all the supercomputer centers and the regional networks. Okay, was called NSFnet. Okay, so write down the backbone network, that is your supercomputer centers. Okay, the complete network including the backbone, that is in bracket you can write down all the supercomputer centers and the regional networks. Okay, and the regional networks was called NSFnet. Okay, was called NSFnet. Further, it is connected to the ARPANET, okay, through a link between IMP and your a fuzzball. Okay, finally it is connected. Further, it is connected to the ARPANET through a link between your IMP, IMP and IMP and IMP and fuzzball. Okay, finally it is connected to your through your IMP and possible, because IMP is the basics of your, that is your interface uh, message protocols. Okay, processors. Okay, IMP interface message processors. Okay, so in ARPANET, all these hosts, okay, basically connected through your some IMPs. Okay, IMP stands for your interface message processors. Okay, so and in this case, in case of your NSFnet, the fuzzball, that is your meaning microcomputers at the basics that act as a router. Okay, so whenever this IMP connected through a fuzzball, okay, later on this ARPANET also connected with your NSFnet. Okay, and whenever this ARPANET connected through your NSFnet, so it is through your this is the nothing but your connection between your IMP and your fuzzball. Okay, so next is your write down, this is the NSF backbone in 1988. So you can actually see this diagram. In the diagram you can see I this network basically consists of your NSF supercomputer centers. Okay, it is rounded by represented by your simple circle. Okay, and it is also connected with your NSF, your middle level network, that is your regional networks. Okay, regional networks, and okay, and your both means your ARPANET as well as your NSF supercomputer centers. Okay, so in 1988, the NSF net backbone basically consists of all the supercomputer centers as well as your regional networks as well as your ARPANET. Okay, ARPANET. Okay, so this is the uh, NSF difference between your NSF net and your ARPANET. Okay, so following the to the instantaneous success of NSF net, the NSF started using fiber optic channels. Okay, NSF started using the fiber optic channels at 448 kbps to provide the version 2 backbone. Okay, to provide the version 2 backbone. So initially it is when started, okay, the speed was 56 kbps. Okay, but when it is upgraded with your fiber optic channels, okay, so its speed was 448 kbps to provide the version 2 backbone. And in 1990 the second backbone was upgraded to 1.5 mbps. Okay, so the speed gradually access speed of your network, okay, so was an increasing. So initially when it is started, it was 56 kbps, but later on it is upgraded to 448 kbps, and again in 1990 it is upgraded to your 1.5 mbps, 1.5 mbps. Okay, so later on, looking at the inability in financial support from your government, this NSF, okay, encourage few non-government organization, one of which is your IBM, okay, to form a non-profit corporation, that is ANS, okay, Advanced Network and Services, as the first step along the road to commercialization. Okay, so finally this NSF, okay, NSF net commercialized, okay, by your some of the private organization, that is your Advanced Network and Services. And in 1990, okay, so the NS, that is Advanced Network and Services, took over NSFnet and upgraded the 1.5 Mbps links to 45 Mbps. Okay, whenever it is handed over to your NS, okay, this speed upgraded to 45 Mbps to form ANSNet. Okay, so the advanced version of your ANS, that is your NSF net, is your NSNet. Okay, so NSNet stands for your Advanced Networks and Services Network. Okay, and its speed initially was 45 kbps. Okay, 45 mbps. 45 mbps, which after running 5 years sold to your America online, but by then various companies were offering commercial IP service. Okay, commercial IP service. Okay, so in due course of time, okay, to ease the transition and make sure every regional network would communicate with every other regional network, this NSF awarded contract to 4 different networks operator to establish a network access point. Okay, network access, establish a network access point. Network access point. Okay, so in this you can write down this NSF net when it is commercialized. Okay, so when it is commercialized, okay, it is known as your advanced networks and services, or simply write down ANSNet. Okay, what is the advanced? Initially it was ARPANET, then it is NSFNet, then it is ANSNet. Okay, ANSNet when it is commercialized. Okay, so by your advanced network and services take over this NSFNet, it becomes your ANSNet. Okay, and its speed, okay, upgraded from 1.5 mbps to 45 mbps. Okay, so NSF net speed in 1990 was 1.5 mbps, but when it is ANS net, its speed, initial speed was 45 mbps, 45 mbps, 45 mbps. Okay, so in due course of time to is the transition and make sure every regional network could communicate with every other regional network. NSF award contract to 4 different network operator to establish a network access point. Network access point. Suppose one network is at your America, another network suppose at Australia, and third network is suppose your India. Okay, So all these country basically at the time comes under some your network access point. Okay, network access point. Okay, whenever you any network okay wants to or any country wants to communicate with your another country. Okay, so there is a communication established between your network access point. Okay, network access point. Okay, it is establish a connection between your network access point. Suppose some of the country comes under your network access point one. Okay, and second other some of the countries belongs to your suppose network access point two. So whenever one country wants to communicate with your another country, okay, so always there is a communication established between your network access point. Okay, network access point. So initially it is divided into your four different network operators. Okay, which handle the whole world. Okay, and this is known as your network access point. Okay, network access point, right? So next is your uh, every network operator. Every network operator has had provided backbone service, backbone service to the NSF regional network as well as to connect to all the NAP. That is your okay. So write down this point. Every network operator had provided backbone service to the NSF regional networks as well as to connect to all the NAPs. Okay. So whenever so the basic any network operator, okay, or your internet service provider, okay, internet service provider, okay, so basically it provided backbone service, okay, to all the natural networks, okay, and if somebody want to communicate with another person or on another networks, okay, which belongs to your another NAP, okay, it is the duty of your network operator to provide that type of a service. It's provide the backbone service to the NSF regional networks as well as to connect to all the NAPs. Okay, so in terms of technical, it means that a packet originating on any regional network has a choice of backbone carriers to get from its NAP to the destination NAP. Suppose somebody wants to communicate from your India to America, okay, right? So suppose India comes under one NAP, okay, and America comes under your another NAP. Okay, so the basic objective to packets will be forwarded from one NAP to another NAP, okay, or your source NAP to destination NAP. Okay, so in terms of your technical, in mean that a packet originating on any regional network had a choice of backbone carriers to get from its NAP to the destination NAP. Okay, to get from its NAP to the destination NAP. So during the 1990s, many other countries and regions also build national research network. Okay, like your ARPANET and NSFNet. Okay, these includes Europanet and Ebony in Europe, who started out with 2 Mbps lines and then upgraded to 34 Mbps lines. Okay, so in America or United States, it is the network in 1990 is known as your ARPANET and NSFNet. Then in some other countries, okay, so they also claim the same type of your network like your ARPANET and SNSNet. The examples are your Europanet and Ebony in Europe. Okay, we started out with 2 Mbps lines and then upgraded to 34 Mbps line. Okay, so initially when they started, your speed was 2 Mbps lines. Okay, but it is upgraded to your 34 Mbps line. Okay, so if you compare, so these are the some of the example of your networks. Okay, internet that comes under your internet, that is your ARPANET. Okay, then your NSFNet. Okay, and next one is your ANSNet. Okay, and in some other countries it is your EuropaNet and Ebony. Okay, So next write down, give the heading that is internet usage. Okay, this is basical theory you can read yourself in from your book. Okay, so next write down internet usage. Okay, internet usage. Next write down, I give the heading that is internet usage. Internet usage. So write down the number of network machines and users connected to the ARPANET. Okay, grew rapidly after TCP/IP become the only official protocol on January 1, 1983. But when initially when ARPANET framed, okay, at that time they do not adopt this TCP/IP reference model as their reference model, but later on they follow this TCP/IP reference model. Okay, so when TCP/IP reference model is becomes the backbone of your ARPANET. Okay, so it provides a better service. Okay, so the number of networks, machine, and users connected to the ARPANET, okay, grew rapidly. Okay, after TCP/IP become the only official protocols on January 1, 1983. Okay, and when NSFNet and ARPANET were interconnected. Okay, so as we discussed, this NSFNet, ARPANET, as well as some of the regional networks are interconnected. Okay, are interconnected. The growth becomes exponential. Okay, the growth became exponential. Many regional networks joined up and connections were made. Okay, many regional networks joined up and connections were made to networks in Canada, Europe, and the Pacific. Okay, so sometime in the mid 1980s, people began viewing the collection of networks as an internet and later as the internet. Okay, so as we know, what is the definition of your internet? It is basically a collection of networks. Okay, it is a collection of different networks. Okay, interconnected with each other. Okay, so when this NSFNet, ARPANET, and some other regional networks, okay, are interconnected, okay, it becomes your internet. Okay, so sometimes in the mid 1980, people began viewing the collection of networks, okay, as an internet. Okay, and later as the internet. Okay, so the basically the glue that hold the internet together is the TCP/IP reference model. Okay, and the TCP/IP protocol stack. Okay, TCP/IP makes universal service possible. Okay, as all the networks basically follows this same reference model, that is your TCP/IP reference model. Okay, so or you can say as they are following the same universal model, that is your TCP/IP reference model. Okay, so as they are following the same reference model, okay, so the communication becomes your easier. Okay, and they can provide this uninterruptible power supply communication, uninterrupted communication. Okay, so the glue that hold the internet together, you can write down, is the TCP/IP reference model. Okay, the glue that hold the internet together is the TCP/IP reference model. If suppose some network use one reference model, okay, another network use another reference model, okay, so there is a communication, then naturally there will be a communication gap between your different protocols. Okay, so they may face different type of your difficulties. Okay, so their protocol doesn't match. Okay, but if they are following the same protocols or your protocol stack or same reference model, so the communication becomes easier. Okay, and they can provide a reliable service. Okay, right. So the glue that hold the internet together is the TCP/IP reference model, or you can say nowadays all the networks, okay, use the same reference model as well as your same TCP/IP protocol stack, same protocol stack. Okay, for communication. Okay, and or you can say TCP/IP makes universal service possible. Universal service possible. Okay, right. So next, write down, this point is very important. Write down what does it actually mean. Okay, what does it actually mean to be on the internet? What does it actually mean to be on the internet? What does it actually mean to be on the internet? Okay, so what does it actually mean to be on the internet? Okay, so the definition that a machine, that a machine is on the internet. Okay, write down the definition is that a machine is on the internet if it runs the TCP/IP protocol stack. Okay, if it runs the TCP/IP protocol stack, has an IP address, has an IP address, and can send packets and can send packets to all the other machines on the internet and can send IP packets to all the other machines on the internet. Okay, so this is a question. Question is what does it actually mean to be on the internet? The definition is that a machine is on the internet if it runs the TCP/IP protocol stack, or you can say if it is follows the TCP/IP protocol stack. Okay, number two is has an IP address, okay, for easier communication. Just we already discussed in the last class the IP about your IP address. It has some network address as well as your host address. Okay, as an IP address and can send IP packets to all the other machines on the internet. Okay, so that is the question. Question is what does it actually mean to be on the internet? Okay, the definition is that a machine is on the internet if it runs the TCP/IP protocol stack. Number one, has an IP address. Okay, and can send IP packets to all the other machines on the internet. Okay, so that means if you want to transmit, okay, any message, okay, or any data through your internet, okay, it must have some IP address. Okay, and this IP address must follow or transmit from one machines to another machines. Okay, and during the communication they must follow this TCP/IP protocol stack. They must follow this TCP/IP protocol stack. Okay, so that is the mean of your internet. Okay, technically. So next is your, however, the issue is clouded somewhat by the fact that millions of personal computers can call off an internet service uh, provider using a modem, okay, by assigning a temporary IP address and send IP packets to other internet host. Okay, so traditionally, so in 1970 to about 1990, okay, the internet and its considers as four main applications. So write down this in 1970 to 1990. So it has basically four applications which already know you know. Number one is your in around 1970 to 1990. Okay, the internet has four main applications. Number one is your email. Number two is your news. Number three is your remote login. Okay, and number four is your file transfer. Okay, so these are the four main applications. Okay, when internet comes into picture. Okay, so that is your when all over the world different networks are connected. Okay, so at that time there are it had four main applications. It had four main applications. Number one is your email. Number two is your news. Number three is your remote login, and number four is your file transfer. Okay, file transfer. So if you consider this email, already you know this is a way to transfer different types of your send or receive different types of electronic mail or message. Okay, and if you consider this news, okay, so news groups are specialized forum in which user with a common interest, okay, can exchange different types of your news or message, okay, or thousands of news group nowadays exist, okay, devoted to technical and non-technical topics, including your computers, your science or politics. Okay, they can share their different news, okay, or different issues. Okay, so next number three is your, if you consider this remote login. Okay, in remote login, so using the telnet. Okay, so or your any other software. Okay, so users anywhere on the internet can log on to any other computers or machines, okay, on which they have an account. Okay, right. So this is your remote login. That means sitting from your home, so one can log in to any other server or your computer. Okay, and the last one is your file transfer. Okay, so using your this file transfer protocol program, okay, so user can copy files from one machine on the internet or to another, or can download any files. Okay, so vast number of articles, database and other information available nowadays, available to the users, okay, by using this file transfer. Okay, so these are the four application initially. So when it is started in 1972, 1990, so email, news, remote login and file transfer. Okay, so up until the early 1990, the internet was largely populated by academic, government, and industrial researchers. Okay, so one new application, that is your www, that is World Wide Web. Okay, changed all that and brought millions of news, non-academic users to the net. Okay, so in due course of time, numerous other kinds of pages, okay, have come into existence through your www. Okay, so during 1990s, the internet service providers, okay, made the facility available, or sitting from your home, okay, different internet service provider, okay, can facilitate the avail this type of all this type of your service, okay, through your internet. Okay, so these are the basic internet usage associated with your at the time of your 1970 to 1990. Okay, and these are the basic issues. Okay, so next is your architecture of the internet. Okay, architecture of the internet. So all of you please draw the diagram. This is important. So architecture of the internet. Architecture of the internet. So all of you draw this diagram first. Architecture of the internet. So architecture of the internet. So draw this diagram first. Then we will discuss in details. Architecture of the internet. Architecture of the internet. So draw first. Draw this diagram. Architecture of the internet. All of you draw the diagram. All of you please draw this diagram. Okay, diagram is complete. Hello.
No, sir, you're doing.
Okay. Okay. Okay, in this diagram, suppose let us some client want to transfer any data, okay, or want to communicate any data like your voice signal or any text message or like this. Okay, so initially this client, okay, wants to communicate. Okay, so all the data basically transmitted uh, through your this telephone wire, basically, okay, telephone system or telephone wire. Okay, but in telephone wire, always the signal transmitted in the your analog pulse, okay, analog pulse. Okay, so in your modem, okay, that is situated in your computer. Okay, so who is converts your digital signal in the form of your bits, okay, in the form of your 0 and 1, in the form of your electrical signal pulse. Okay, electrical signal pulse, and which is transmitted through your this telephone system, that is through this wire. Okay, through your wire. Okay, then it is and the signal which transmitted through this telephone system, okay, basically in analog in nature, that is your analog signal pulse. Okay, that is in the form of your high voltage or low voltage. Okay, high voltage depends your high voltage signal depends your 1, and low voltage signals depends your 0. Then it is transferred to your point of POP. The POP, write down, the stands for the point of presence. Okay, point of presence. Okay, so once the telephone system handed over this analog pulse, okay, analog signal pulse, okay, to this point of presence. Okay, so now this point of presence again convert this electrical pulse, okay, in the form of your 0 and 1, that is in the form of your digital, and convert in the form of your packets. Okay, convert in the form of your packets. Okay, and it is transferred to your regional internet service provider. Okay, it is handed over to regional internet service provider. Suppose you want to communicate with your regional, you are staying at Bhubaneswar and you want to communicate with another person, okay, which is also situated at Bhubaneswar. Then then the receiver, okay, the receiver situated at this regional or this receiver belongs to this regional internet service provider. Okay, so if the receiver situated at this regional service provider region, okay, so it is handed are there. Okay, this packets handed over, okay, at this region. Okay, that is your regional internet service provider. Okay, so if this receiver is not available at this regional internet service provider or in your region, okay, suppose this receiver situated at your, suppose, Raurkela. Okay, then this regional internet service provider, okay, handed over these packets to this backbone. Okay, backbone. Okay, so this is a large network. Okay, so if this receiver not belongs to your network, okay, your regional network, then it is handed over to your backbone. Okay, backbone. Okay, suppose in the Raurkela, okay, or Bhubaneswar, Cuttack, okay, they suppose combine form this backbone network. Okay, backbone network. Okay, so this is a large network. Okay, suppose you can say this backbone network, suppose it is all the networks associated with your country India, okay, is a type of your backbone network. Okay, so now this packet handover is the receiver, okay, situated at this backbone network. Okay, it is handed over there. Okay, it is handed over there. Suppose the receiver is at another country, okay, at a different country. Okay, so in another country, okay, so the network also constitute a backbone network. Okay, it constitute a large network, or this constitute a backbone network. Okay, so and the connection between this backbone network to backbone network, okay, basically possible through your as you discussed NAP. Okay, so they are connected with each other through your network access point. Okay, through the help of your NAP or network access point. Network access point. Okay, so as we discussed, just we discussed. Okay, so initially when it was started, it has four NAPs, four different NAPs. Okay, so and under each network access point, okay, some network of different country belongs to one NAC. Okay, so if it is situated in another country, suppose, okay, so the packets then transport to this another backbone network, okay, through this network access point, okay, through this network access point, okay, so from where they can this receiver also can transmit or can retrieve some data from your another server, okay, like this, okay, or if they want to communicate with your another company, okay, through this which is situated at your another backbone network, okay, through always this uh, communication between your two different backbone network, okay, possible through your network access point, okay, through possible through your network access point, okay, so this is the way how this internet work, okay, whenever this one client want to communicate with your some other person or in your some other server, okay, so basically the it is transport suppose through your help of your telephone system, that is basically where, and in where it is transport in the form of your analog signal pulse, okay, and this at the point of your POP, okay, that is your point of presence. Again, it is converted in the form of your packets. Okay, then it is communicate to your regional line network. Okay, if the receiver not available your regional network, okay, it is handed over to your backbone network. Okay, if the receiver not available at the backbone network, okay, it is situated another backbone network. Okay, then through your network access point, okay, so they will communicate with your another backbone network, and finally either the data retrieve from your server room or the data transport to your receiver. Okay, so this is the basic architecture of the internet and how it basically works. Okay, so this is all about your basics of your internet, okay, and how it works and what are the different application or what are the different uses and what is the architecture of the internet. Okay, in next class we'll discuss this connection oriented network, that is your asynchronous transfer mode. Okay, so the almost the time is over, that is your 10. So if you have any doubt, you may ask. Otherwise, I have already taken your screenshot of your attendance and you may leave.